Hello friends! This is another video where I'll answer some of the questions you dropped me in previous videos. Remember, if you want to take part in the next video, you can leave your questions in the comment box, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's get things off by looking at this interesting question. A user asks, why was Pickle so scared when Yujiro Hanma showed up during the father versus son fight? It's true that when Yujiro and Baki were in the midst of their fight, Yujiro Hanma appeared to throw some supportive words to his grandson and to provoke Yujiro. This infuriated the ogre, but beyond that, it seemed to leave him in total shock. However, Pickle had a peculiar reaction during this incident as he started trembling with fear when he sensed Yujiro's presence. I believe Pickle wasn't the only one terrified by Yujiro's presence. It's just that the others were so petrified they couldn't move a single finger. Pickle also showed a similar behavior when Hanma showed up asking for a rematch. For Pickle, it makes no sense that the dead return to the human world. He can't grasp this phenomenon, and that's why he got so scared when he saw Jack, thinking he was dead. Certainly, Yujiro's presence was so strong that Pickle could quickly sense the vast power difference between them. It's important to note that this was just an imaginary manifestation of Yujiro, so it's impressive that he still maintains such a powerful aura as to make a prehistoric caveman tremble. Another person asks, who was behind the door? I've answered this question in past videos, but I'll quickly answer it one last time. This is a question that still doesn't have an answer today. A lot of time has passed since that incident, and it seems like Itagaki simply forgot he drew that chapter because it was never mentioned again. There are many theories, but so far none can be taken as the absolute truth. If you want to know who I think might have been that mysterious person, I'll share my personal opinion. The first character that comes to mind is Dr. Kureha. I think many of us agree that Kureha is the main suspect, since at that time Itagaki was building him up as a strong character who would be the one to beat in the underground tournament. Plus, right after the incident with the door, Kureha appeared in the following pages, having just defeated a huge tiger with his bare hands. It seemed like Kureha was going to be a more important character in the future of the series, but in the end Itagaki decided to drop that idea, and the Doctor was relegated to a secondary role. Someone asks if there could be a chance that Hanayama is a son of Yujiro, and also questions if Yujiro has any blood relation to Pickle. The question about Pickle is very interesting. The truth is, Itagaki hasn't confirmed this, so we're still not sure if Pickle is an ancestor of the Hanma family. However, I think the possibilities of this being real are very high. The biggest trait that seems to connect Pickle to the Hanma family is the fact that he also has a transformation where his powers increase, just like the demon back. I'm referring to when he activates his berserker mode in his battle against Baki. This is a state where he increases his strength and speed in the same way that Baki and Yujiro do when they activate the demon back. So, in short, I can assure that Pickle is a Hanma ancestor, but the chances of him being one are very high. It would be interesting if Itagaki makes this a reality. Now about the other question. I don't think so. Hanayama belongs to the Hanayama clan. Plus, there's a backstory explaining his past, and the reason why he has that peculiar tattoo on his back, and at no point is the ogre mentioned. Hanayama's mom seemed to be a very kind woman, and didn't seem to be the type of woman that Yujiro would be interested in. But if he really were Yujiro's son, that would explain his incredible strength and natural talent. Yujiro respects him a lot, and even mentioned that they are similar, since they were born strong and no need to train to gain more power. This friend asks if Netflix will continue to bring the Baki series to the platform. This will depend on the success of the new season of the series. If the season is very well received by fans, it's safe to say that Netflix will continue to bring more Baki content to the platform. So if you want Netflix to keep bringing Baki, make sure to support this new season by watching the series legally and sharing positive opinions on social media. What would happen if Yujiro fights with Pickle and activates his demon back? I think the answer is simple. Under these conditions, Yujiro would totally beat Pickle. Remember that Musashi practically made Pickle run out of fear when they faced each other. So I think if the caveman faces Yujiro with the demon back, the result would be the same as with Musashi. In any case, this is a fight we never got to see, so it would be interesting to see these two monsters in a real fight. Is Amane Yu dead? It's hard to answer this as we never saw this guy again after Yujiro beat him up in the underground arena. The punch Yujiro gave him seemed to be very serious. However, this is Baki, so the guy probably survived but felt so humiliated that he decided to abandon martial arts. Either way, I really liked this character and his fighting style was very interesting. He was about to defeat Dopo. Will Alexander Gallon come back to take revenge on Sikorsky? In fact, in the Sikorsky spin-off, Alexander Gallon made his comeback and was ready to ask the convict for a rematch. Unfortunately, they only had an exchange of words, and the fight never took place. But even if this rematch does happen, I think Sikorsky would defeat Gallon again. I say this after seeing how much Sikorsky has trained and the kind of rivals he faced during the Prisoner's arc. Despite this, I think it would be a very entertaining fight to watch. Could Oliva Biscuit and Kaku enter the tournament that Jack Hanma is organizing? Well, Biscuit recently made his comeback and defeated Nomi to regain his pride, so he might also be interested in Jack's tournament. I see Kaku as less likely, as he seems to have lost his motivation to fight after his confrontation with Yujiro. He seems to have retired from martial arts, as when Pickle fought Katsumi, he said he'd rather play dead than face the caveman. It would be very interesting to see how Jack Hanma would defend himself against Kaku's techniques. One of the most disappointing moments in the Baki series. I have several in mind and plan to make a video about this, but if I have to choose one, I would say that Ali Jr. vs. Baki is undoubtedly the most disappointing moment of the series, and I believe many would agree. It's disappointing that this fight ended so quickly and in such a humiliating way for Ali Jr. I know many people didn't like the character, but I don't think this was the right way to end his arc. The fight was highly anticipated and it unfolded in a great way, however, in the end, Itagaki left us with a bad taste in our mouths. How strong would Oliver be if he mastered martial arts? That's a good question. As we all know, Biscuit is a god who doesn't fight using martial arts. He's a man who fights using just his brute strength. Several fighters have questioned his decision to focus on muscle training. However, for him there is no need to learn any martial art, because he believes his strength is enough to defeat any opponent. We've seen on multiple occasions how other fighters have surpassed him because he only relies on his physical strength. I believe that if Biscuit mastered even one type of martial art, he'd be a better fighter, since having a balance between strength and technique is the key to being a good fighter. Yujiro is a clear example of a balance between strength and technique. I think that if Biscuit mastered some type of martial art, he could be among the top 5 strongest fighters. I'm sure that if he had mastered any martial art, he wouldn't have been defeated by Baki when they first fought, and he would not have been humiliated by Nomi on that occasion. I hope that Mr. Unchained considers learning martial arts in the future, as it would be a significant development for his character. Well, these are some of the questions that you guys have asked. I couldn't respond to all the comments, but I've already taken into account some questions for future videos. So, if you want to participate, don't forget to leave your comments and share your opinion in the comment box. And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.